Welcome to Game 3 of the Stoned Ape series. This is a group of players who've been getting together and coordinating a custom game. A lot of the problems with the 64-player games is you get games with half the people going AFK and just a big skill discrepancy. And so this is Stoned Ape has been hosting a couple of games. You can check out the other first two games. I recorded those in a daily diary as well. This is game 3, and each game we try to people give feedback on what they think works well, what would make it more fun for everybody. This game is actually 28 players in a circular galaxy with one neutral player in the middle, which is going to be Stoned Ape. So he's not participating. He will have everyone's APIs, and he will therefore be able to get everybody's movement the whole game. He's also going to be able to monitor everyone's chat, and so he says he's going to try to make a video, which I will highly recommend, and hopefully it'll be as compelling. This video will be from my perspective, and my team is right here in about the 11 o'clock position on the galaxy. There's 7 teams of 4 members each. 28 total plus the 29th neutral, and some special rules. So let's go through what the special rules are for this game. So first of all, formal alliances are enabled, which is kind of a staple of these set team games. One of the big changes, and it benefits me greatly, is anonymity. It's been turned to extra. So what does that mean? That means normally you can go into a game and you can change your alias, your name that you go by, but your badges, your win-loss record, all this stuff, not win-loss, but your what do you call it? Your basically how many games you've won, your renown, your wins, and rank points. All are on display, but in this game, I'm going by pandemic, and nobody knows who I am, and that's great because I have a partner in Kane. In my opinion, one of the strongest players in the game, and totally unfair. And if people see that, they're going to just team up and kill us. They don't know who we are. Feeling good. Now I have a couple of other new players, and we'll go through who those are that were randomly assigned. But yeah, it's Kane and I plus another couple of players that I just don't know how good they are yet. We'll find out. So I hope they're good. Some of the other settings, though. If we look at some of the other settings, we were talking about doing Dark Galaxy. We just couldn't pull it off because we needed to have a central person in the middle. Basically, once the teams were set, so Kane and I select each other, Stoned Ape picked our partners and then told us what position to take so people could be teamed together. Kind of a standard 16-star close distance is kind of similar to what you'd see in the 64-player games with the 20 ticks per production cycle. With 4 starting stars, so that's all standard stuff. So the biggest formal alliances and anonymity, those are the 2 big changes. Here's the other big 2 changes. The trade is, instead of being $15 per level per tech, it's $25. I've not done more expensive tech, so we'll see what the implication is. The other thing is experiment level set to 0. Meaning we aren't able to research experimentation. Again, if you look at last game, we had one team that just rushed experiments and gave them kind of a bit of an unfair advantage if you didn't do it. And so because we have coordinated teams, they're taking that out as a viable strategy, which is great. And with teams of 4, now you only have 4 of this. You only have 6 techs instead of 7 that you want to research. So most people probably will hold off on scanning and probably manufacturing early on, and then they'll pick up probably manufacturing and drop one of the others, probably banking. So here are some other rules that are going to be in play that you can't normally do in this type of game. Because we have a neutral player, Stoned Ape is the neutral player. Everyone has to give their API code for them so he can record and use a time machine from the Neptune Neptune's Pride agent to record all the fighting and get all the vision. The neutral player will not take any stars or attack any players. Teams cannot attack the neutral player. This is honor system. Don't mess it up. But here's where it gets interesting. We can give Stoned Ape money, and they will give us intel for the money. Every cycle, the cost of this intel goes up. So, cycle 1, we could pay $20 and know how many natural resources a specific star has. That would be a good thing to know, potentially. We could spend $30 per cycle to know, does a specific star have currently have a warp gate? That could be helpful late game when things are out of scan range. We could pay $40 per cycle to know how many ships a specific star has. Again, coordination later in the game. We can pay $50 or 50 credits per cycle to know which star has the most ships for a specific player. So we say, okay, what star has the most ship for Guzzes? You would see where he's grouping his stuff. So this is all ways to spend money to get intel from a player that sees everything. That seems fairly reasonable. But there's more. There's going to be some bounties. So the neutral players, the Stoned Ape, will offer cash rewards for reaching certain achievements. Every cycle, one random star from each team will be chosen as a bounty. If a player takes one of these stars, they will be rewarded with $10 per cycle. So cycle 1 will be 10. Cycle 10 it'll be 100. So it's incentive for players to attack each other, and it'll be up to Stoned Ape to determine which stars will be given the bonus, the bounty. If a player eliminates another player, they will get $20 per cycle. If a player eliminates the last player on a team, they will be given $30. So again, incentive to not let somebody live. Wipe them out, get paid. The bounties don't stack. And then the last one, and this was my idea, anonymity reveal. So because we're playing with anonymity and people want to know who is who, if a player takes another player's home star, the neutral player will reveal the home star's original owner's identity to the player who took it. So, I don't know who Starshade is. That's not someone we played with. But I do know that Starshade's home is here. And since I know this is their home, if I take this star, I will learn Starshade is really... Which one is that? Is this Hex? Is that Jubelfett? Is that Bio? Is that Jewish Star Empire? I'll find out. So, some really cool extra rules. Ways to spend money to get intel. Ways to earn money by doing certain things like getting stars, eliminating players. And a really big incentive to take out people's home stars and find out their true identity. As we're waiting for the final 2 players to join the game, let's do an update on pre-game strategy. So we went over the rules, and you can see I've updated the colors. So the teams now are all of the same color. And then we have the API, so you can see this is me, Pandemic, this is Kane, this is the rest of my team. Now we've worked out who's going to get the initial stars, and I wanted to go through a little bit, and this is why it's so important to have, like, around the early communications and how you think you're being perceived versus how you actually are. When we reached out to the group to our east, our original thought was this is where we want a non-aggression pack, and we had 3 people that could easily attack this green team, and that made the most sense to do. And so Kane reached out. Greetings, good, gentle people. We were wondering perhaps peace would be profitable for both of us, blah, 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 blah. The response we got back was, greetings, my friend. Let us feel out the early game before we can come to conclusions. After a cycle or 2, we can formalize agreements. Which on one hand sounds fair. My response was, and my response was, this is hostile, and they're not going to work with us. Of course, we're like, yep, let's keep the conversation open in the coming days. Now, I want to contrast that with another conversation. And so basically, it was from the Jewish Star Empire to our team. He originally reached out. I'd like to open a communication with you and consider diplomatic opportunities possible. Now, he did this to everyone, as he should. I intentionally didn't reply because I was afraid he would recognize even my attempts at being identifying who I am. But we said, hey, we give him a little misinformation, but what do you have in mind? And I'd be willing to consider working with you, but I want to make sure my team's involved. And we said, great, let's make a chat with all of them. And then he asked for a team name, and we gave him some. I told him I'd spread my virus. So then another one of their team members, Fu Manchu, opens up a conversation, and you can see already the contrast. Hello, neighbors. Everyone can see we share a border. I've decided to create this chat so we can talk about opportunities. Started to find borders that made sense. We don't even want to talk about war. Maybe we could do some tech. And we have a conversation, and I jumped in with some silliness. We agree we're going to get along, and then we'll talk about being friends. Jewish Star Empire lays out some thoughts around trading rules. And so contrast this dialogue, right, with and detailed conversations that make me feel like, yes, this is a group of players that they're not on our team, but they're willing to work with us. Now, I happen to know Jewish Star Empire, and I know that once he gives his word, he will keep it. And that's not that can't be said for everyone. Compare that to this. Let's just see how it goes. I mean, who are you gonna then attack this group and hope that they they hope that they don't attack you? Because they're going to see how it goes, and if you start to engage down here, they're going to, their back door's open, let's kill them. That's exactly what they're going to do. Or are you going to say, you know what, let's keep having this good communication and work with them. And by the way, if we work with them and then also work with Purple to get some trade tech and going, we could have 3 teams destroy this red team and be in really good position. Because the conversation I had here with Buttered Toast was, again, just reaching out. And I basically mentioned, hey, I'm curious about this player who is Megatron, that he'll have access to get into this section of the map, and we could trade once we get to scan 3. And he said, and I said, plan sounding gooder and gooder. He said, the goodness exceeds all previous levels of goodness. The plan is good. Our crew thinks it is good. There's much good to be had with this plan. So, nothing quite as formal, but we have good relationships with pink, even better with green, and, lukewarm at best with red. So, our original plan was to kill Team Green, but because of communication, before the game's even begun, we've already flipped on this Team Red, and that's how important those initial conversations are. And we're off. Cycle 0, we are underway, 4 hours in, and as you can see, we're just doing our initial star gathering. The main thing here is when we started to look a little bit closer, we noticed that our nearest neighbor focused on industry, furthest on science, and what that tells you is, again, 7 industry. They're bolstering their attack forces on the west, so we made the right choice. We're going to be at war with the stupid Luke team. We will be partnering with JSE, and we worked out who's going to do what. We had a great conversation around cross-team tech trading, so they're going to do weapons manufacturing and scanning, and we're going to do terraforming, banking, weapons, and range. So we're both doing weapons and terraforming, but we'll do banking and range, and they'll do manufacturing and scanning. So between the two teams, we'll get all the techs. That is the biggest thing, and yeah. So now we just execute and prepare for war with the East. We also have, it seems like the Butter Toast team on board with pinching them. So when I have a conversation with Butter Toast, basically, yep, we'll proceed with the plan to deliver green potatoes to Luke's team. And that'll be known as the Great Potato Pandemic. And that will be the destruction. So we'll crunch on them, safety behind, and see where it goes. We are in cycle 1, and let's do a little bit of a recap of where we're at. All the initial stars now have pretty much been taken, and so this now sets the stage for when the real interactions between the different teams are going to come into play. First of all, you'll see within my team, we've got some ships really focusing on the eastern side, and that's because of the interactions. I talked about it before, this pathway to peace, and it started off with their lukewarm, hey, we don't want to commit, and you know, it kind of went from there. In other threads, there was a thread about what names different teams are going to go by, and it was basically in this thread that I was just being silly, and you can see basically, you know, my team to tell me, you know, my team won't tell me my name. It's your favorite team, and you know, fuck your team. I agree, and they're calling me stupid, and so this is when I was like, you know what? Whoa. Because I was calling him stupid Luke team. And I told him that he was just mistaken, that in my language, you know, that translates to honorable Luke team, because he's being honorable using his real name. But really, you know, anyway, it's not true. I'm just calling him stupid. But it went from there, and then when I started looking at the math, it was going to be really hard to hold the front line because of stupid Luke team here being able to, they could have whatever they want here, and I won't be able to see whatever they want here until I get the next level scanning. I just won't know. So we did have then an exchange with stupid Luke team, and basically in that conversation, I proposed that they don't put a lot of troops there or here, and I won't load them up on there. And that seemed to be fine, except they ignored it. And so I said, well, you know what? If I don't put all my things on Wildpan, they can easily take this from me, and I don't want to lose this foothold. In addition, partially because this is going to get me in range with the potato team. So this is the Butter Toast team. So this pink is the potato team, and so this is a pivotal star. And basically, the other thing I then saw was Starshade really went up fast in industry, and so I had to match him. And if you look at, so he's at 13. If you look at the intel, you know, he's up at the very top, not stars industry. Starshade immediately was the top in the whole galaxy for industry, and you don't want your neighbor being the biggest industry in the game. So I was really forced to just build up on my border. Now, saving grace, I've got Brittany here with the highest science in the game on weapons. And when you look at our research, you'll see that our weapons is done in 7 hours. Now, I actually don't have money to get it, but if I need it, they can just loan it to me. Their highest science person is 4 para, and maybe they're getting weapons. But I feel like because we have a high science, we'll be in good shape. So this is really target number 1. And if you're going to go and fight on one front, what do you need to do? Make sure your other front is secure. And in this case, I know the Jewish Star Empire very well. And a little bit of truth here on Jewish Star Empire. This is an anonymous game. I told him who I was. I told him who I was because basically he really thought I was Starshade because I was joking about being Star Lord. He thought the name was similar. And so he was going to attack my alliance thinking that would get him closer to me. And I didn't want that because that actually was me. So I had to tell him who I was. My team doesn't know that I've told him that, but I have. So let's go ahead now and shift down to the Jewish Star Empire team. Now, this team, again, by contrast, we've had incredibly good conversations. We have a separate thread on tech. I'm keeping them apprised of when they're going to be. We're going to have both banking from Kane done and weapons done early. So Kane's actually also at 4, which is no one else has more than 4. So 1 hour before the end of the cycle, we'll get banking. I'll get that from Kane, and then we'll have weapons already underway. We'll be in great shape. And when you look at the border here, we've moved everything off the border, and so have they. And the reason they have is because they're dealing with Graymason and the caretaker, the big banana. So this team here has been basically attacking the only one already. These clusters here, you can see the only one's only got 5 stars to his 11. 100 ships, to 82, so they don't have a ton, but either way, it's there's already been battles on the south, so it works out good for us that we help them and they have a place to go. Now, after these two part groups, the other group is the potato team. Then we have buttered toast with the potato team, and basically I've tried to be very kind with him as well, and basically said, listen, Megatron's going to get these stars. With Scan 3, we've been in range. We can work together and crush the people in between us. And it'll be known as the Great Potato Pandemic. And they seem to be on board. And that's great because not only do we have a strong ally in the Jewish Star Empire, we have an ally on the other side of our first target. And what that'll do is should allow us to take out Stupid Luke team pretty quick. Hopefully they can make some progress, and then hopefully we have good relations with the potato team. And we want to have good relations with the potato team because if you can see yellow here, this is the hive. They have a player in here. Where is he? The hive mind, and he's got a super lucky spawn. And they're going to be big. And I think they're going to be one of the bigger threats in the game. And so we need the potato team to be able to deal with them. We'll get most of the Stupid Luke team, I hope. And then be able to cut through and help them while they soak up and be a shield to us. And then finally is purple team. So this has got GB on it, Nocturnal Duck, Crazy Horse Club, and Species. And with them, again, don't know what they're going to do, but they're pretty far away, and I don't have too much of a concern. We're in cycle number 2, and we had a great ending of round 1 of cycle 1. We had Kane finish up banking, and we sent that all around to our entire alliance, and we even got it over to Team JSE, and so they all benefited. When you think 8 people times 75 extra credits each, that's 600 extra credits between the two teams here that the rest of the board hasn't had. In addition to that, we got Brittany, who's already got weapons, got to wake up to send that out. But when you look at research, they're already well into 37 into the 288 needed for the next level weapons. So about 2 days and 2 hours, 3 hours. That's when we're thinking we're going to want to strike. By that point, we should also have the next level of banking. We'll have terraforming. We'll have range. So all that will come together. We should also this cycle have scanning and manufacturing from Team JSE. So we'll be at level 2 on everything. We'll click over to level 3 banking, level 3 weapons, that's when we strike. When you look at the chat between us and Team JSC, we are as one. We are united, singing Kumbaya, coordinating as if we're one unit, and it's a beautiful thing. Now, it's a little bit scary when you look down here because you see Graymason and the Caretaker really got the better of them in the south. But we'll see how that plays out. For now, they're not screaming that they're in trouble. If you look back here, and I'm going to use a time machine just to give you a little sense. I'm going back in time. You could see, okay, now I'm going to go forward in time. What you're going to see is as we're getting close to the end, the war machine from the stupid Luke team has gotten a lot of ships in our way. Now, we've made progress with them as well, and if we back up a little bit, what you'll see is the suggestion from Luke is, what if we swap Wild Pan for Hag? And I'm like, well, what's the natural resources? Because Wild Pan is decent. I've got one industry. It's technically it's a 26, so it's not a super great star, but it's not terrible. 26 star, and basically he's like, it's 6, and he's like, well, you know what? And then Luke, who's triangles here, says, what if you take Bam, the star? He goes, then Star Shay could still go ahead and jump over with 2. I'm going to be going east anyways. It's a 33 natural. Just don't send a lot of ships. And I'm like, great, but how does that make any sense? If you're going to give me Bam, how about I just give you Bam and then you just go that way? Like, why do you need this specific star? And the answer is because they don't. They want to have access to this cluster of stars. They don't know it, but this cluster of stars is really, really strong. And I'm absolutely not going to let them get one step closer to that. Not to mention, if their logic is they want to attack south on the Megatron, they can do that through Bam. So, he says, you're right. Okay, do we have peace? I said, sure, we have peace. And why don't you go ahead and move your ships? So then he says, what are you guys working on? So Pairs on weapons, we're ahead of them. Shades on Terra, we're ahead of them. Sleeve Bio range. So basically, they just outed their team. So we know it's Luke, Paramis. We didn't know the other teams. Now we know it's Bimbo and Sweeps. So we know who this entire team is now because they made a mistake and wrote Bimbo by mistake. Whoopsie. They, for some reason, think we're making good progress on them, even though we just gave them banking. Okay. Ask if we're working with their other neighbors, and ask about other communication. So Starshade gets in and says the war machine is on the move. So if we see these guys move off, which I fully expect to happen in about 4 minutes, that'll be great. Alright, we're in the closing hours of Cycle 2, and I just wanted to give you a little more background of some of the diplomacy going on. And basically what you see is, we said war machine's on the move, and I said thanks. And then Luke says, your mom's on the move. And I put like, what are you talking about? And they echo me. I'm like, all right, whatever. Sigh. Ugh. All right. And I think I can't tell what's happening. One message, you're all friendly and nice and like trying to solve problems. And the next, you like insult my mother and act surprised when I'm surprised. Or you're just mad that you slipped up and typed Bimbo. And sorry, I was confused who Joe was. I told him he had enough to drink, go home. How do you know my name? I said, he said, what the heck? I asked if he's okay. And then he's like, can we get banking from you guys? I'm like, no. As a matter of fact, our trust is shifting the other way. Again, the fact of the matter is, we're going to attack you the whole time. So it really didn't matter. This is wonderful fodder and an excuse to do what we were going to do anyway. But I humor him. So why do you say that? And actually, Starshade's doing his best to try to salvage it. I make Luke's acting strange. The whole logic we just went through there, and then you say you're moving off, and then 20 more ships were showing up. And he had good answers for it. And then Luke sends this, we just want peace. And the last couple of messages were missteps from me, and I'm sorry. And so here's what they sent. They sent all of their ships and where they're at. And I get it because I actually did the same thing with Geostar Empire. I sent him, here's all our ships. But I built trust with him first. And first of all, what are you doing with 800 tabs open? Like, let's start with that. But beyond that, you can see so he's basically, this is a message from Luke to the team on the other side of the potato team. And he's saying that he's hoping that this message finds you well. We want to attack the potato delivery team. His current ally is sending troops. And hopefully, you guys go along with it. I mean, so they're calling themselves the First Punch Throne. They're the stupid Luke team, but that's what they're calling themselves. And again, so we have an image of where they're at. So what you look at here is Para is basically moving all his ships to the east. You have Luke, who's sending the 65 down to the east. Doesn't have much. Luke gave up this. Luke's getting this star in exchange for Bam, and you have this guy up top kind of sitting still for a while. He's kind of guarding the the back end, which makes sense. And then these 100 ships here look like they're going to move off. And then when you go and you look, they actually did. Now, once we get range, our scan 2, we'll be able to see if they move off that or not. So my plan now is to go ahead and oblige, because I want to see these 100 ships move in and them attack. Now, the other thing that happened is they sent me these images. I also had some communication with the potato team. And I basically said, hey, can we get in range? I don't want to wait for range 3. It's going to take too long. Time is of the essence. Can I get down to start trading tech with you now? And I said, is this can I just jump down there and you give it to me or somewhere near? And at first they said no. And then I showed them these images. I said, time is of the essence. Look they're coming for you. And they said, thank you for this intel. But there's really not a good place. I'm like, listen, I'm not going to push for it, but that's fine. And then Butter Toast is like, yeah, if you pass through to this star here, that would work. Megatron, you cool with that? And I said, yeah, great, I'll come. And so basically they are agreeing to give me this star here. Early hours of cycle 3. Our war machines are gearing up. We are preparing for the first assault. One of the things we noticed overnight as we got into this cycle is that Para has manufacturing too, and none of his neighbors did. And what that means is he swapped from weapons to manufacturing, and that's going to get us a little bit of a window. So we plan to hit when our weapons finishes. And if you look, our weapons finish in 23 hours. So in about 24 to 27 hours from now, we intend to be attacking Stupid Luke team. Now they call themselves Throw's First Punch, but they're going to be receiving sucker punch to the face. The plan right now is Kane and Brittany have created a formal alliance. They will be funneling through Naus and hitting Analyst. They'll probably face about 100 ships combined of defenses. They're only going to have a little bit of time to react, and there's no one else but Sleeve going to be able to do anything about it. So when they come in together, they should absolutely make landfall and start to make progress. The risk, of course, and I will be sending in 100 ships to Hag to try to get this bounty. I should be able to get it because Starshade has sent 170 of his 260, so all but 90 of his ships will be very far from his core stars. Now, he absolutely could turn and try to get Wild Pan. I'm hoping that he launches in that interim on Megatron, but he may or may not. And so we'll just be defending here the best we can. We'll have HB move these ships up another 100 to help defend as well. And I think we just try to hold in here We're going to push up top. All of these teams are going to have all their ships on the far eastern side. We should make progress. One day away from this game actually starting. We are at the end of cycle 3, and we are also at the beginning of war. The war is on. We are launching in 2 hours, or 2 ticks, 1 hour and 11 minutes. Our ships will be sailing into stupid Luke team. We are in day 4, but let me use the power of the time machine to show you what has transpired. This view is as you saw at the end of the last video. Time machine is basically part of a piece of function of the extension for the Neptunes Pride agent that does amazing things. When you have your API generated, you can go back in time and recreate and relive what happened. So let me show you the power of the time machine. So again, we are about to attack. Now, at this point, we are in a tight alliance with JSE. We've been negotiating with the Potato Clan, and Luke thinks we're on the same team. I knew we were about to attack, and so they've been saying, hey, let's trade tech. So I went ahead and asked Luke's team to send me money for tech, and they did. And then I did this. So watch what you see here. Oops, I'm going the right way. Yeah. So here we're going in forward in time, and right about here is when we get to range 2. At that point, I'm able to launch down and start to get the star so we can trade with the potato team. And that'll come into play in the future. At this point, they don't know what's happening. They have a sense of what's up when they see my 70 ships coming. But it's not until about this tick that they say, what the heck? Because they see my 124 ships heading to Hag, which by the way is the bounty, and they see 100 ships sitting here. And so I got a message at this point. Okay, and so this is the message I got at this exact moment in time. It says, it is very unfortunate that things have come to this. If only a few changes at the very beginning, this could have been the beginning of a beautiful alliance, conquering the galaxy. But instead, it all turns to mud. I understand having to attack somebody, but to lie and backstab to do it, that hurts. Pandemic explicitly said we had peace, and asked us for money for banking, which we gave willingly. Thank you, that was wonderful. As we willingly showed our troop information, that was so helpful to know where we could attack, and willingly retreated. Again, much appreciated. And yet you attack us anyway. Now, I was going to attack you anyway. All that other stuff was a bonus. That being said, the way you interacted with me was a big reason. I wanted to kill JSE. We were going to kill JSE. Your initial message, your lukewarm, let's see what happens, set the tone, and you never recovered. So you can blame me, but it's on you because your communication immediately was cold. So let's continue. As Pandemic would say, it's stupid. But you know what's even more stupid? Expecting the person you effed over to not F you over back. We will not defend from the Potato Clan, but instead only defend against you all, unless we are paid back the $50 plus interest, as we are spent it on economy, as well as retreat your forces, as was promised. I'm not saying you can never attack us. I just want everything to be fair. Do that, and we will defend as normal. Now, my response is, look like you need to change name to get punched first. Besides, Potato Clan are ally. Give them stars, LOL. Now you have taste the great potato pandemic. And then they ask some questions, or my team asks questions about how you do interest, and yeah, you know, it breaks down from here. Yeah, so you know, so here's what they oh, that's great. Yeah, this is great. So Luke's upset. Okay, you know, that's understandable. Let's continue. Here's the move I don't get. Let's go back a tick. So you have Luke abandoning that star for Starshade to go and take it. I don't know still what's going on with that. And then remember, the other thing is we timed up right about here. We get weapons 3. So now we're at weapons 3, but they're weapons 2. That was the other thing. Para screwed up and switched off of weapons, giving us a broad window to attack with a weapons advantage. That made all the difference in the world. That, from your initial communication to your continued poor communications, just solidified that we were going to attack you. I don't even feel bad at all. This is on you. You know we're going to attack one way or the other, and you really just made us want to attack you. And then, boom, vision. It was a beautiful thing. So let's take a look at what we found out. And I'll stop here and look. Not Hag. I don't know how, where these guys, the 79 from Canopus, came from and why they didn't get. They must not have been able to get there in time, which is great. Now I have a decision what to do. I could make a beeline, try to get to their home star, but he just cuts me off. So I think the best move is to go up to Paw, away from where their massive troops are, and then it also reduces any resistance, and it's a really good star. So yeah, so now we're back. Boom. This is where we're at right now. And then if we look at what HB's doing, he's moving these 62, so he's going to get 120 ships on this star, and I at this point I'm fairly certain I'm going to land on BAM. I had calculated out that those 170 couldn't get there and back, but they could be right there on the edge coming back. I don't know. I don't know why they left and gave this up. This is a decent star. Oh, let's look down here. So here's the other thing that happened. As I approached, he abandoned this and gave me this view. So what you see here is two pretty good stars, right? We're looking at 48 resource and a 37. It's good stuff, right? I'll take that later, but not yet. They agreed for me to go to this star so we can trade, and basically, and you look at what they have a manufacturing that we're not going to get for another 17 hours, and they want scanning for it, so fair trade. So but what I had to do is just bounce off there, and then when I land, I'll be able to 7 hours, I think. Yeah. Well, yes, yeah, 7 ticks, 6 hours, 1 minute. We'll be able to get manufacturing from them. I'll give them scanning. So that's really where we stand. Luke's upset. No, there is more. Let's go through the additional. So basically, with the potato team, they shared, by the way, they didn't share that. They shared this image, which shows them attacking stream, attacking over here. That shows them attacking stream. Which is here. They also, if you take a look, oh yeah, okay, if you also take a look at what they've done over here, look at these 2 stars up in the top. They've taken those 2 over. So potato is growing up on them and attacking stream as well. Maybe they give those. We'll see. But what the potato team did say is that FYI, we've been double crossed by our south neighbors, which is the Hive team, which is ideal. That's exactly what we want. We do not want them to have peace down here and just gobble up a bunch of Luke's stars. They're going to get some, that's fine, but we want to get as many as we can, and we want them having to defend that while we get more of those stars. So this is the best case scenario. We've got basically, oh, and let's take a look down here at JSC. How is he progressing? right? So here's what it was like, and then boom, we start to make progress, reclaiming some stars. You see when the vision gets pumped back on and we get the range, he launches, so he's on his way down and should be landing in a few hours. So Team JSC is going to start making some progress here, which is great. We want that. We're making progress here. They're going to get some stars, but they have to turn and focus against the Hive. So now we know Hive is attacking north, Luke's getting eaten, we're gaining, JSC is growing. What we don't know is what GB's team's doing, Nocturnal Duck. That's what we don't know, is what's happening, what they're doing. So we'll need to figure that out. But for today, for now, we grow. Oh, one more thing. The whole anonymity thing, people are trying to figure out who I am so they can kill me, make sure I can't win. Early on, remember the whole, I made a post that I signed it Star-Lord, just as a joke. I don't even know why I did it. But then Star Shade made a name, or used a name that was close, and JSE thought I was, everyone knows I'm not Graymason, but everyone thinks I'm Starshade. We're about to kill Starshade, and when we take a star, we will get notified from the Stoned Ape who the owner of this is. Now, we already have a pretty good sense that this is going to be sweeps, and when that happens, I'm going to work with JSE to Photoshop it to say that it's Graymason, to prove to everybody that Graymason is Starshade. Graymason is defeated. And now this team will cry bloody murder, but we'll just say, you guys are just saying that because you're mad at us. And no one will know what to believe. And hopefully they believe us. And that is how Graymason will be dead, but still win the game. It's beautiful. Stay tuned to see if I can pull it off. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, click on the link for the next episode. And don't forget to click subscribe for more content.